I had a whole intro prepped, and I was reading it, and it didn't quite work out. But that's fine. Welcome to NAL Super Week, and I'll explain what Super Week is in just a second. I'm Caliber Jacob Anderson here with DreamHack Montreal 2018 champion Davide Foxy Bucci. I had to reach all the way back in the annals to find a good one for you, and North American savant Jesse J. Chick. We're all here. We're all vibing, gentlemen. We're here on a Wednesday for some reason.
Yeah, you didn't have to say all that. You didn't have to say, yeah, I had to reach
I had to
far
find a
back to
throwback,
find
dude.
that.
That's like 6 years old now.
Serious.
For real.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. It's the first time me and Jesse are on the desk together, like with this, like NAL.
With this?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the NAL.
It's nice. I like this dynamic.
Oh, you could do that again.
Please do it again.
I don't know.
Were you on? You had desks. I'm trying to. Atlanta for sure. SI also yes.
No, I
No.
don't think we did get a desk together at SI.
We
no.
didn't get a desk in SI.
Uh-uh.
Did we do Atlanta?
Yeah, there was like 1 or 2 days in Atlanta we did.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
Might be right.
Oh, good stuff. We're gonna ram 3 days of it down your throat because that's what Super Week is. Now you might be wondering, hang on a second, Super Week. Why do I keep hearing that word, but I have literally no idea what that stands for? Well, every other week so far in the North American League, it's been just 2 play days, with the exception of play day number 1. That didn't happen, so that play day or that week was only 1 play day. Now we have 3. And 3 is weird because they're all only games of best of 1. There's only 4 of them. There's not 5. So everything around Super Week is now getting congested into this very, very last final playoff push. It should be pretty fun, but for some teams, it's definitely going to be more of a pain for them to handle if they don't have 3 games they actually have to play this week.
It's high intensity, right? It's do or die at this point. It's not only a Super Week because it is the longest week that we have in the North American regular season, but it's also the last chance that you have to get points before playoffs. After Super Week, we're done with the group stage. So it's super critical that the teams show up and get their points because if they don't, there's not going to be any more time afterwards.
Especially when losses start to add up and it's just one loss after the other and you know your time is just dwindling away. You need to make some points matter, so... Yeah,
here's where standings sit before we jump into Super Week. This is just conducive to the first 6 play days we've already had. OXG still sit atop the league. They made history to be the first team in NAL history to go 5-0. And then you cycle through all the other 8 teams we have in the league. M80 currently is sitting in top 2, so if they stick that, it could be OXG 1, M80 2, or in some order by the time Super Week is over. And then lows are still all the way down to the bottom, only with 1 dub. That's kind of a problem if you still have all these games left to play this week.
It's tough.
It is a little bit of a problem, but I mean, we've seen a little bit of promise from all teams, and I mean, it's not really a sprint, it's more of a marathon for some of these teams, especially low, since they've, had so many changes from where they were last year.
True, yeah. Not the same team anymore.
Certainly not. Brand new roster, of course, so we expect them to start a little bit slow in the season, but I mean, I think they are getting better throughout the weeks, even if they have yet to find really some of those wins.
There's a couple teams that are ones that we need to specifically watch out for, but not for anything good. They're in the danger zone. These are teams that came in with high expectations or were somewhat of a misnomer, and now they don't have all that many games left to play, or they're in a really bad point spread. Dark Zero is one of them. Only 2 games left. Currently only have 6 points. They can max out at 12, but because of their fortune so far this stage, it's not really looking good for them to make playoffs, which is the first time we've really ever said that.
It's really uncharacteristic from Dark Zero, especially the Dark Zero that we saw at Invite. Get top 6. We would not have expected them to come in and then just have this, I want to say, abysmal of a performance that we expected. We've seen a lot of the players on that team succeed, and we've seen players, and we highlight them a lot. I hate to bring it up, but NJR hasn't been having the best season either. So, of course, if you're Dark Zero, it's got to be kind of a reality check.
Yeah, it's tough because it feels like all of the top 6 teams at the 6 Invitational have been struggling in their respective leagues. I mean, we've got Dark Zero in North America who've been struggling. Furia has been struggling so far in Brazil. Both Virtus.pro and G2 have had a bit of a rough start. And then, I don't mean to spoil the next couple graphics, but Sonics have also not really been performing to the level we expect them to.
Yep, Sonics are the other team in the danger zone for NA. Of both teams that made top 6 at the Invitational, they are also now in this position, which is, it's only 1 point above Dark Zero for contrast, because everyone in the league at the moment is really, really close. But the Sonics have also had their woes, way more losses than wins to their name at this point. And even if they're only 1 or 2 positions above DZ, they really need these next 2 wins if they want to stay in playoff contention.
Yeah, I think for Sonics, there have been some more like smaller frustrations with them, some closer games that they could have gotten the W in, but just weren't able to find that success. I think obviously they've made a couple of roster moves, whereas Dark Zero still have the exact same core from SI.
Yep.
So they're still trying to adjust to that a little bit. I think the meta's maybe caught up to them a little bit as well. So for Sonics, it's been a rough start for sure. But again, we're still in a position with a super week coming up, they still have the opportunity to bounce back.
I think it's a night and day difference when you compare DZ to Sonics because I feel like Sonics has a lot to show. They've been improving, and especially their game against DZ, it looked very one-sided, and it looks like Sonics has the answers that they need. It's just few rounds just not going in their favor that just they weren't able to scrape by, but Super Week is going to be able to give them a little bit more of a jump and some more opportunities to equalize in the standings.
Well, you think so, but they have less opportunity to do that in the Super Week because they only have 2 games to play, whereas Los, who are also in the danger zone, have 3. Different scenario for them because they are at the bottom of the table still in North America. A lot more ground they have to make up, but there's more of a chance for them to do that because they could get 12 points out of this week and jump up out of where they currently sit in 4.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed from Los last week, honestly. I thought this team had some potential coming out of week 2. I thought, you know what, they're starting to put some pieces together. They're starting to make some of those defenses work, and then they just weren't able to continue that on to last week where we saw them play a couple of really rough games. A couple of Oregons didn't exactly go their way. So I'm really hoping we can see Los bounce back. They clearly got some great pieces. Sexy Cake, Legacy, there's some potential there for sure, but we've yet to really unlock it for Los.
From the fundamentals and the strategic point of Los, watching, especially last week when I was watching for home, it really looks like they have a really good strategy.
Sure.
Everything that they've brought into this stage on paper makes perfect sense. They just haven't been able to find the finish line on it. And that's fine because, again, it's not a sprint. It's a bet the marathon.
Well, we won't jump in too much into the Los pregame. We'll save that for when we actually get to them because they are our first game up on deck. But the other games are notable for their own myriad of reasons. Dark Zero has to find a way to bounce back quickly, but they're doing it against a currently undefeated Oxygen. Wildcard is on a 3-game win streak at the moment, and LG are trying to find some way to recover their season. And then we save what I think is the best game for last, Space Station Beast Coast is game 4.
Yeah, I think at the start of the season, Space Station were looking like a top team, Beast Coast were looking like a bottom team, but then in that previous week, we saw the roles really reverse. Space Station have been on a bit of a losing streak so far. We've seen Beast Coast come back and win their last couple of games as well. So it's starting to look like that final game of the day should be the best one on paper, but it really depends which way do the trends continue. Do we continue to see SSG slump? Do we continue to see Beast Coast bounce back? Or is it going to be a bit of a reversal?
Every game, especially today, it just looks like they could have the potential to be an amazing matchup. My personal favorite is going to be LG Wildcard, just because I feel like both teams just have a story. They're slowly crossing trajectories, and I think it's going to be a good matchup to see who plays who. But they all have really big potential. I do agree with the Beast Coast SSG. I mean, that really could go either way with how well Beast Coast have been improving.
Well, we're saving that sucker all the way for our main event of the evening. But our first game to start with on this wonderful rainy Wednesday in Philadelphia is about to have a lot of Portuguese all chat. This is the Import Bowl. Not a single player in this matchup has anybody that was born on the North American continent. They were born in Brazil, they were born in Sweden, they were born in the UK. None of them were actually born here. And we've been waiting for this one because we saw these two rosters on the horizon and wondered who was going to be the better team. I think most of us knew M80 were probably going to be better, but I didn't think the margin would be nearly as wide as it is right now.
Yeah, I think for Los, they're always coming in with not the highest of expectations, right? They are a Brazilian roster, and we do talk about Brazil as the best region in the world, but they're not coming in with the top Brazilian players. They've got a couple of rookies on their team, so we did expect them to struggle a little bit through the start of the season, and they have so far. M80, I was not so sure coming into the season, because while they are 5 great players, there's not a lot of history between them, but they've really blown my expectations out of the water. They undoubtedly look like one of the best teams in NA right now.
We're used to seeing M80 bringing a different look, maybe that super team where we throw around a lot, and this is the first time that I've actually praised the team on how they've been able to structure it more as a team that looks like it should be good on paper with supports and a front line, whereas Los, their experience, there's nothing really to go off of. That really is no synergy between players, no teams, no success really besides on Sexy Cake's side way long ago. Yep. You said at the start, I was so long ago. His success was really long ago, so the history isn't there But again, the strategy is.
Well, let's figure out if the team that only speaks Portuguese versus the team that does have a couple of Brazilian players on it will come out ahead in our first game of the day. And we'll talk Los first just because this is the team with the most to lose at the moment. Even if they were to lose today, they're not completely out of the running for playoffs, but they absolutely need to get something going. They had a loss against Wildcard 4-7 on Oregon last week. Second time they've gone to Oregon, second time they've lost it. And despite a couple of close calls, Los are pretty much now showing that, like you mentioned, that synergy is still something they need to work on building up.
It's going to take a little bit of time, but the strategy is there. I mean, they showed a lot of promise in their game against SSG, and the direction in their game against SSG on Clubhouse was a big factor. And this graph shows it looks like it could be map count, but it's not. It's all about the opening kills and the opening deaths. And against SSG, Los had amazing direction. They knew exactly what they needed, and they would send 4 or 5 people to accomplish one specific thing. But the issue is SSG gave them those picks. They gave them those opportunities. Whereas Wildcard on that Oregon match, we saw that Wildcard does not give those fights, and that's where the direction got them into the map.
Yeah.
They would send 4 or 5 people to get top floor control, get a full floor control to attack the basement. But after that, when they weren't able to get a kill, they weren't able to progress into the site, everything looked so one-dimensional, and it was very easy to counter.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked a lot about how the early round from Los has been relatively successful. If they can get that opening pick, they can be really, really good with their pushes. The problem is sometimes when they get to that late round, they're starting to throw things away. They're not getting plants down. They're not getting those executes. So that's been a big problem. I will say Sexy Cake has been one of the best early round players in the entire league. You can see his entry stats here, particularly on attack. He's in 42% of the entry engagements on attack for Los. So that's more than you'd expect for the average player. You'd expect about 20%. And he's winning 62% of them. So he's really successful. About 2/3 of the gunfights he's getting into when it's first inside of the round have been successful. But the importance of Sexy Cake in this role cannot be understated, because particularly when you look at a couple of rounds, when you look at their conversion and recovery, it paints a really dangerous story for Los.
Let's just dive into that a little bit more in case some people aren't really familiar with the terminology. We can look at a team on paper defense-wise, but it's the way that their attacks are composed and how they start that arguably makes the biggest difference for if it's a team that we just don't know anything about. So if you had to break down what you just said, recovery, what does that even mean for the layman that has no idea?
Sure, Jacob. So to break it down, recovery would be defined as the rounds you win when you start with the opening death. So when you start with the 4v5 disadvantage, what percentage of rounds do you win? Conversion is the opposite. What percentage of rounds are you winning when you get that opening pick? So how many rounds do you win if you find that first opening frag? And so if we take a look at Los' stats, particularly on attack, we see a pretty ridiculous landscape coming through. They have been the number 1 the number 9th, 18th% recovery attacking team in the league. That means when they don't get the opening pick on attack, they have only an 18% chance of winning the round. And they're going up against M80, whose defensive conversion is the best in the entire league. So those problems in converting or recovering attacking rounds from Los are going to be even harder against an M80 team who are so good at nailing down 5v4 advantages on the defense.
And it makes perfect sense because we see them set up so much emphasis on getting in the map. And when there's a team that gives them that opportunity like SSG did, they're able to, I guess, maybe have an easier ride. But when they played against Wildcard, that's where we really saw some issues come in. And not to mention, I think the map play, the map pick was a really big issue. And we talk a lot about coaches, and we haven't really explored too much of Los' coaching staff. And we know that they've been there to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Sure.
But obviously, they need a little bit more experience against other North American teams to know what maps just not to take other teams to. Taking Wildcard to Oregon was just a sure loss.
Right. That one was weird right out the gate. But we're obviously hoping that whatever map we get, we just know that M8 is going to be really good on defense, so Los are going to have to step it up against these guys who only have one loss so far on the stage. Everything has gone very well. They beat SSG on Consulate 7-5 just last Friday, and that game feels a lot closer to M80's final form. They're not quite yet. There's still some things to iron out, but some of Spoit's play, like the Kino kick through console window, they had close ones, but then every other round felt way better for M80.
It just looks like M80 is a team right now where they're good at everything. They're able to have the really aggressive play, and they're able to have that very defensive, methodical, slowed play that could trip up Los.
Yeah, I think for M80, this is a squad they've been looking really solid in their individual plays. They're clearly winning their swings. They're feeling very confident in a lot of these gunfights. And I think that's carried them through a lot of these tough rounds.
So let's just see what they had to say about the Super Week, because, again, they've got 3 games they have to worry about, but they've come in pretty good so far at this point of the stage. Let's hear what they had to say.
Hi, I'm Gabriel, also known as Cameraman, and I play for M80. The hardest team was against Luminosity. That was their first and only loss. I don't think it was like props on them. Like they showed up like really good siege. To be honest, like it was more like we were not that well prepared. From my perspective, from what I saw after the match, like they were not doing crazy stuff. We were just struggling like with some like bad habits that we had, and we had to lose that to change this stuff so we can like see more clear what we were doing wrong. I think Los, they have like good players there. They are like rookies, most of them. Like not saying about like Rise and Sexy Cake and Burst as well. Like, but Farias and Legacy, like they're rookies, so they have to show up a lot. But they're like showing up a really good siege in my opinion. But I think that we can beat them like easily. So of course our main goal is to play on Manchester, and we know like it would be tough because like we have really like short preparation time, but also like IGLing for the first time, another language, and we have like none of our players besides Spoit and Kino played along with each other. But I'm very confident we can get the spot. Hopefully we can stay like first or second on the NA League. Let's see this week, and hopefully we get these we lock this Manchester spot.
Well, Cameraman has been doing a pretty darn good job of IGLing in a different language for the first time, but the position that they now find themselves in is one where they've taken on most of the top teams in the North American League already, the ones that had the biggest expectations to start the stage, the ones that had the best records for the most part. And now when we look at the remaining games that they have on the card, all three of them that they have in the Super Week, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Los, easiest team they might face on paper solely because of where they are in the standings. Beast Coast, kind of an unknown because they're on a bit of a bounce back. And then OXG, it could be that they win both those games and then we just have a game between maybe the top two teams at the very end of the league that doesn't really even mean all that much.
I think that's the best thing if you're M80 for you to look at. Obviously, you have two, not to say surefire wins, but two easier games on paper. And then obviously at that point, you've already been confirmed. You're already just playing for the top two spot. First and second don't necessarily have too much of a change when it comes to this season. When it comes to the pre-playoffs. So obviously when you play OXG, I think it's just like a limit test at that point.
So in the round robin, doing really well. Who's the main reason they've been doing really well? Obviously, everyone's been doing good. Noodles had his game. Kino had his game. Cameraman's been super consistent throughout. Who's the guy? We have to talk about him. He's on this team. His name starts with an S. That's right, it's Spoit.
Yeah, and I think the key thing there, Jacob, is everyone's had their game. Everyone's had one match where they pop off and they play really well. But for Spoit, it's every game. He's the highest cost player in the entire league right now, and that's because he's been so consistent at making sure he's always getting impact. I think sometimes people misunderstand the cost stat. I think it's a measure of how good a player is, and they think, why don't we just look at these numbers individually? And the reason is because cost is a measure of what percentage of rounds are you finding an impact. And for Spoit, he's finding 70-some% of rounds, 72%. He's finding an impact. He's getting a kill. He's getting traded. He's surviving the round, whatever it may be. So his consistency and the dependability of Spoit through this stage, I think has been really, really strong. And it's not something I think we really saw from him over the last year playing in North America. On this new M80 team, though, it is stronger than ever.
So let's figure out map-wise, too, because we mentioned the entry being such a huge bit on defense. Spoit in that last game against Space Station was the main reason they won on defense in the first place because of that late lurk. And we're doing Clubhouse.
Interesting.
Again? I feel like, especially for Los, this one comes up a ton.
I think Los is trying to play their comfortability. Obviously, Oregon Clubhouse, they want to just keep it going so that they can just get more experience and just flex a little bit of adaptability. I guess the comfort is the biggest thing, especially when it comes from a Brazilian team. Brazilian teams love just going to the comfort. They play what they know best. But obviously, going up against M80, I just feel like it's such an easy map for you to be able to have counter-stratted because they only beat SSG 7-5 on Clubhouse, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very easy VOD to just go back, and you've seen everything that Los has been able to show. And we know that once Los shows their rushes and the little quirky things that they're able to do, what do they have left? They haven't had much so far to show for it.
Yeah, and even the Dark Zero game, that went 14 rounds for Los. So that's a ton of VODs on Clubhouse that we're going to have M80 be able to look back and try to dissect. A big thing for Los last time was their ability ability to keep walls closed. It'll be interesting to see if we get a little bit of a bandit ban or how they want to handle that. But it's a comfort map for sure for Los, and we'll have to see what they've changed coming into it for the week number 4.
Well, does the fact that they beat Space Station on it already give us any confidence that they're going to win in this case? I'm also curious about the defensive start too, just because maybe it means they're not going to get totally landslided to start this game. They need to find some method of combating M80 at the source, especially when Los are on the attack. Laxing's already decided M80, no reason to pick against the favorite. Are we doing the same here? What do we
Yeah, I think Los has a lot to show to prove for themselves. I'm going to stick with M80. I just feel like M80's obviously set themselves above the rest of the league right now.
Jesse?
Yeah, and I like Los a lot, but listen, the last game that we saw them play on Oregon just wasn't it for me. Now they're going back to Clubhouse. Although it's a stronger map for them, I just don't think I can pick them after what they've been putting up in recent games. So I'm going to go M80 as well, Jacob.
So if Los don't win, they're not out of the playoff race entirely. There will still be 2 more games for them after this. But if M80 were to win and it's a 3-pointer, that's a playoff lock for them. So all they have to do is get 3 points here. If it was an overtime win, it's very close, but it's not quite there yet. Overtime probably doesn't look that likely for this team, right? We think?
Yeah, I mean,
3-point dub?
I don't think it necessarily matters at this point.
Yeah.
M80's obviously sitting in good. I think Los, they have everything on their backs right now.
fully agreed.
All right, well, let's do this sucker. Day 7 of the North American League starts right now.
Well, thank you very much. We have a shortened day today, only 4 matches, which means that all of them are going to be good. Right, Nick? That's how it works?
That is how it works. 100% confirmed.
That is how it works.
Yep.
M80 and Los will be our starting match. There's a bit of a disparity in the standings between these teams. M80 comes in today looking to try to clinch a top 2 spot in the North America League. Los fighting for their lives. They sit in last place in the region. They are a relatively new team and a new org to North America as well. So there will be some growing pains, if you want to say that. Only 1 victory so far for this Los team. It came over Space Station 7-5 on this exact map, actually. Will they have what it takes to outmuscle one of the best teams in North America? That is the question. Operator band starting, and what, if anything, will be the thing to watch in this match, Nick?
I'm curious in the Monty ban. M80, they've actually been the team to ban Monty in a lot of their matchups so far. And if you look at M80 in the past, there it is. M80 were a team that would like to bring out the Monty. You know, Kino was known to play that operator quite frequently, but for this stage, they've had some roster changes. And of course, they have now a different approach to the operator bans and how they play the game fundamentally in every single matchup. And I think it was easy to be very critical of M80. You know, they had a really sloppy last year with that previous roster. They blow that up, they get a whole new roster, and you're thinking, why is this gonna be any different? Why is this gonna work? And I mean, truth be told, all we could do was sit there and wait, but so far it has been a massive success story, at least domestically right now. And I like what we're seeing from them. I like the adaptations, the small changes, and I mean, they're 4-1 this season so far. You know, they've done great.
We have a tech pause. I'm not sure what the circumstances are here.
I think they're hosting the wrong server, so the ping was an issue.
Yes.
I think Citizen wrote
We
it in
did
chat.
not want to play this game on the Korean servers. Though I do think that would be quite enjoyable to watch.
Enjoyable as in painful? Sure, yes. 300 ping, let's go. Have you ever played Siege on 300 ping, Parker, by any chance?
Have I ever played Siege on 300 ping?
Yeah. Because most people haven't.
I mean, I have played Siege on high ping, but
Sure.
I don't think 300 ping.
Yeah, I was
No.
gonna say, high is like 80 or 100 for most people, I find, or like 120 maybe, but 300, let me tell you, it's not the same game at 300, okay? It is a completely different game. Nothing really works.
Jeez. All right, well, apparently there's a break ready for us. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to toss to it, and we'll be back when everything is all ready. Everybody in the lobby, so it's time to get underway with our very first matchup. And thank you so much for the patience. Operator bands locked in, no Ying, no Monty. Two Brow, Kaid, gone.
Bombs from defused by attackers.
Yeah, this, honestly, you might be saying, like, what about the Kite ban, the two-brow? Like, we don't, I mean, Kite is pretty standard, but two-brow specifically, very big operator here in Clubhouse. You know, Clubhouse is a map really plays around the breaches or breaching the reinforced walls in the exterior, and of course trying to deny those from being breached from the interior. So you play Bandit, you play Kaid, you play two-brow, you play Mute a whole bunch. By removing two-brow from action, you're pretty much speeding up every single round by a solid like 20 to 30 seconds on the attacking side, but you still gotta deal with something like a Bandit, which Lowe's and SexyKick are playing in this first round. And what most teams will do is then start bringing the Maverick. But M80 so far in this round, they're just gonna go with a like, good old staple. Thatcher, Thermite Ace, they can EMP the wall, double hard breaches, and kind of go from there. However, if Lowe's they have good timing or a bit of miscoordination from M80, you can still trick some of those walls and deny hard piece utility, and that can prove valuable later on, because if you can't get open every single wall on the attacking side, you simply has less avenues to attack the bomb site from, which of course favors defense.
Kino's looking a little different today. Oh. All right, let's center ourselves for this broadcast and settle in now as Lowe's have some work cut out for them, Nick. The previous victory came on this map. If you did not hear our preamble, it was a 7-5 victory over Space Station. The only win so far for Lowe's. They actively bandit trick, but actually miss the correct wall. They've opened it up. Clear passage over towards Jacuzzi. They have a read on the Fenrir as well inside of logistics. It's a little bit over half of the round to go.
Bit of an unfortunate there. The 50-50 game of 60k doesn't really pay off, but it's okay, right? You're still stalling out of time, you're still burning those EMPs, burning that hard breach utility, so you're still getting a little bit. Cameraman, though, opens things up, finds Bursa, so Attacker's looking very strong so far, but that's the Fenrir. Those F-Dot mines already been placed down, the right ones hopefully activated for defense. A bigger pick would be like, for example, the Warden, because that means no C4. Those smart glasses also gone from action. So its passive gadgetry shouldn't be the biggest loss, so to speak. But again, you have one man advantage now on attack.
Burst had been droned out for a while there as well. Nick inside of Logi, as we talked about. So you're going to hang out in that area. That's very often Logi is a suicide position for these teams. You're going to play on that part of the map expecting yourself to die at some point. It's very rare that somebody who plays Logi for the whole round will live. The only real exception to that is if it's an advantage in your team's favor already, or if a couple kills happen somewhere else outside of logistics. Various is dead to Kino, so M80 finding a way in now through Jacuzzi, and Legacy is looking in the wrong direction. SexyKick, the very first kill. Noodle's been dropped. This is far more winnable for Los than we might have expected. SexyKick is boxed out of Logi. Rise swings onto main stairs. Down goes Noodle. He's been picked back up. Kino gets the diffuser successfully down. Rise dies. It's SexyKick down below. Retaking with 40 seconds left on the timer. He's not going to get past Citizen. Cameraman letting out a triumphant roar. M80 takes round one.
Yeah, very convincingly so. I mean, opening kill, second kill as well. Into the bomb site they go. Diffuser goes down, and the crossfires, they are established. M80, you know, you can say what you will. You know, you might not have believed in that new roster change, or maybe you didn't imagine there'd be like a strong team in North America, but they're playing good Rainbow Six Siege. And it's so hard to judge a roster before they get into like, you know, a couple weeks into the season. And we still have to see them on like international grounds, assuming that they make the Manchester Major, let alone best of threes come playoffs. But so far, this has been a very strong M80, where they're also showing good adaptability. And of course, when they bring in somebody like Cameraman, who hasn't been communicating in English for quite some time, you know, they gotta warm up. They gotta get going. They gotta get back into action and figure that out. So you can pretty much expect that a team like M80 will only get stronger with time, but every single team, of course, they have a ceiling eventually, where you're gonna meet a wall where improvement is hard to come by. I don't think they've met it yet, because they are looking very good. And I like what they're showing again with the operator pickups, both with the bands, banning the Monty and the Tuberal, but also bringing anything from the Capital to the Thatcher, now playing Deimos on Citizen. They're happy to flex around in the attacker lineup, utilizing all the meta operators at their disposal.
Obviously not the most convincing start for Los, but Also not exactly the first bomb site that you expect them to go to. Los, whether it's because of the operator bans or simply the way that they enjoy playing this map against M80, means that they're going to go upstairs for not just the first round, but also the second now, too. M80 will be very quick to open up some of those garage panels. Kino bringing the secondary hard breach gadget on the Capitao will enable both the Ace and the Thermite. There's a ton of hard breach right here for M80. Given the fact that there was active Bandit tricking in the previous round, and a Bandit is brought yet again, played by Sexy Cake for the second round in a row. Spoit, you gotta.
There we go.
There you go. You gotta open it first this time. Stands to reason that you'd bring a lot of hard breachers to deal with both the castle and the Bandit. Just think of it as an insurance policy.
Yep. That right there is how you circle the Bandit. You summon one wall, you thermite the other, and then if you don't mess up the timing, you should, yeah, there you go. You should get one of those panels opened up. Sexy Kick, though, chose correctly this time. He denied the bigger breach of the extra thermite charge from Thermite, so now it's a small vault hole in from the Ace instead, limiting the entry pathway, and of course, line of sight as well. So, good job there from Los, but it gets worse because look at that. Citizen downstairs on the demos, no tracker needed. They find Rise on the main staircase. Again, M80 are playing 5 vs 4 with that early lead.
Los cannot continue to just give up these players so early on. It will hurt them, especially if you see the way that these bomb sites typically play out. Various roaming down below. Citizen holding that lurk position. Come to realize that when you watch Citizen play, he will often be disconnected from the overall thrust of the attack. On Deimos, that's actually excellent here. He's got all 3 of those trackers still available. Gonna juggle as to how Deimos uses those over the last little while. Nice play by Sexy Cake to kill Spoit. Legacy dies to the flames from Kino. That was clockwork. Now it's Farius to retake over towards blue. You'll know that there's only 2 on site, and there's Citizen. We talked about that lurk roll. 4 kills for Citizen. Hasn't used a single one of Deimos' gadgets just yet. Finally, he will pull one out, whether you go for Sexy Cake or Bursa. It'll be Sexy Cake now being watched. Bursa dies. Sexy Cake, last one alive. Big start by Kino. Both he and Citizen having multiple multi-kills. And now, M80's up 2-0.
This is a bit of a... Some fundamentals being missed by Los. They're playing a CCTV defense where they're trying to prioritize that garage catwalk control, and yet they don't play a Wamai. It's not banned by either team. It's very much open and a factor, and we all know the biggest counter to catwalk rafters is going to be one of 3 operators. Monty, Grim, and Capital. You're always going to see pretty much every single team in the world, whether it's EU, NA, APAC, Brazil, whatever, always bring one of those key operators if they go for a garage clear. M80, they do that. They play Capital, and guess what? When there's no more mine magnets to catch those arrows that delivers the fire, you're just gonna get burnt to a crisp. Legacy, he could have tried to run away, jump over the railing, go for a gunfight maybe. He was proning on the catwalk rafters, blinded by a flashbang, and just died to the fire. He couldn't even fight back. When you surrender opening death, and you surrender catwalk control as well, which, you know, another defender dies because of that, you have no real win condition in your round on defense. CCTV as a bomb site, it pretty much means either you gotta get some kills on defense, deny the hard destruction on the exterior walls, or hold catwalk rafters. And Los in that previous round, they didn't meet any of those criteria. They lost the opening duel, they lost the main breach, and they lost garage. So of course with that, it's a very one-sided round favoring M80 because M80 played it smart and Los didn't adapt with the counters. Now Los are playing downstairs in basement, now they're playing the Wamai. But this is not a strong Wamai bomb site, you know, necessarily. And also for M80, you're not playing Capital. You're playing a heavy roam clear, right? Deimos and the Jackal to hunt down those roamers. Then they got the Ram for soft destruction and Grim for the execute. So great adaptation from M80, and Los are falling a bit behind here.
A bit behind?
A lot behind.
A lot behind. There really haven't been many bright spots whatsoever for this team. Not just in this game, but it extends beyond this matchup. We see a really early mark coming from M80. Citizen just kept that death tracker for quite a while. Down goes Kino to Legacy, who was spotted. And I don't know if that was just a bit of sloppy coordination from M80. But Kino was 5-0. Now he's gone. Citizen at 4-0. Cameraman also yet to die. We're early in. There's still plenty of time for those deaths to rack up. Boy, will use yet another death mark onto the Legion. Citizen gets one. I don't know if this was supposed to be a double swing or not, Nick. Rise gets away, though. All told, not terrible on the roam for Los.
I think Citizen had a really good read in that situation. They're expecting multiple people to contest him on that kitchen hallway. So he takes that first pick and runs away, like sprinting immediately, because he knows there's no risk, or rather, it's not worth taking the risk of overstaying his welcome and then having to win 1 or 2 more gunfights right after getting a quote-unquote free kill. And because Kino died earlier, it's a 4 versus 4. It's not great for M80, but it's okay as long as Citizen survives. He's got 5 of those Grim B canisters in pocket. That's going to give them so much intel on the bomb site before they execute later on. And they got the rifle verticality, so they can really speed things up here, go for a quick execute. It's just a matter of where do they want to attack from. Drop down the kitchen hatch, walk down main stairs, breach that church wall. They have options. All they got to do is decide and then go for it. And with 25 seconds left, that time is right now.
There go the bees. Launch down to just keep you in place, but oftentimes we see Grim being anti-flank. It's to stop them from getting closer into the bomb site. Therius has been dropped. Burst is the last one standing. Noodle in a 1v1 against the Thorn. He's running out of time, though. The bees will assist him. Shotgun out. Flashes as well. He has to swing this. Oh, no! He doesn't get it done! The shotgun is just so weak! A stunned look on Cameraman's face as he plays against his own team. Noodle coming so close. A choice decision to go with the shotgun instead. But boy, oh boy, the only round so far that you will see Los prevail in, it was a nail-biter.
That secondary shotgun, you only want to pull that in a gunfight if you're a gambling man, because there's like a solid 50-50 chance whether you're gonna do damage or not. It is a terrible weapon. It's great for opening hatches, soft destruction, verticality, whatever, but for actual gunfights, even point blank, somewhat ADS, it does not get the job done. I mean, you can argue there, you know, sitting back at home relaxing, you know, why don't you go for the primary? Just reload your weapon, right? That's the better play to do. But under those like super intense moments, split-second decision making, you're just gonna go for the play. Enemy got spotted by the Grim Bees. You had the flashbangs, you had live intel. You don't want to waste one of those seconds or 2 seconds to reload your primary weapon. You just full send or you go for it. But truth be told, with that secondary shotgun, you might as well go for the knife. At least if you can close the distance, you guarantee getting the kill compared to what we saw there of, yeah, it was close, but close doesn't cut it.
That old saying, close only counts, and horseshoes and hand grenades. And in this case, hand grenades are quite weak. And we don't have a horseshoe operator yet, though.
Yes.
I suppose the closest would probably be Maverick, because he does have the horse icon.
Oh, yeah. It's true. I mean,
very easily could have been a 3-0 for M80, which for attack on Clubhouse is something that Los will not take lightly, I'm fairly certain of.
No, I think I mean, they're not like the better team, what we expect from this matchup, but you know, they're aiming for a 3-3 half, right? They're not gonna want to go down here. Was that a hatch drop from Citizen? Did he get peeked in the hatch? I'm not entirely sure, but Citizen's now died 2 rounds in a row where, yeah, he dropped actually. So I guess they're gonna throw for like a pseudo rush, but there's no follow-up, there's no commitment. Not sure what Citizen was thinking there, playing the Capital operator, but he's down now. No fire, no smokes, and this is a pretty big deal. And they get tricked on the exterior wall as well. M80 in the first 2 rounds did everything almost perfectly, and then right now it's pretty much falling apart from like a strategical standpoint. They can still win, they can clutch up, they can hit some nasty shots, but strategically, they've lost one of their big pressure points by not getting that construction wall opened up, and they don't have their main operator of Capital to enable these bombs that execute. Now the gunner's gotta step up now. We wanna see someone like Noodle, someone like Spoid pop off and just pick up kills, otherwise surely Los will get this round.
They're certainly well situated for it. If you look at Clubhouse, it's the most played map in the North America League, and you'd be shocked to hear it favors the defenders, though honestly not by much. Every single bomb site that's been played, and there's only 3 of them as we haven't seen a bar stage yet, sitting in the positives for the defenders. bottom floor bomb site, not just the most defended and most played, but the most successfully defended. This bomb site upstairs sitting at a 53% win rate for the defenders, or 52% actually at this point. And M80, despite finding themselves in a bad spot to start, have made up for lost time. Fenrir of Bursa holding down Logi will swing. Rise has been dropped. Bursa's on very low HP. M80's taking their lumps as well, so it's not over, but you need a big game from Legacy. You need a big round from Legacy. Eyes finished off. Now it's Spoit taking damage. I don't think he knows where that came from. You know, against the world, unless he can pull his teammate back up. He'll go for it. There's a reinforcement against the wall, so you know you can't be shot at. Hino's looked sensational so far through these first 3 rounds. He'll now need to rely on Spoit to cover. Legacy dropped. Bursa flanking. Does Spoit know this? Bursa stop it in time. Spoit gets the final 2 kills. You are better, Spoit. At least that's what I assume he's saying. We can't hear what he says. M80. Perfect so far on those top floor bomb sites.
And this is the thing, right? When you have a roster and a team like M80, they can win those rounds where strategically they are playing from behind because they have great gun skill. They can just walk into the bomb site, walk into the building, and just say, you know what? Let's just take the 50-50s. Let's just be the better player or the better team. And despite being down a player, not getting the right walls opened up, not having the capital, they simplified. They indeed just walk in and just get stuff done. It's a great look for them, but Lowe's, you gotta question, if they can't win a round like that where they're in a serious advantage, how are they gonna have to win those fair rounds in the future?
Well, timeout taken by Los, and again, I really do think it comes down to these rounds just slipping away. Yeah, you were right. M80 played those first 2 rounds so well. A lot of mistakes from M80 in round number 3, and also some mistakes in round 4, though M80 did ultimately win that one. Those mistakes added up too much on that Church Arsenal bomb site. I don't think you just call a timeout here because you're losing. I think you call the timeout here because of how you are losing. M80 looks sharp on attack, and they usually do. Los looks like a word that has those 3 letters in it. They look a little lost. Or lost, as we like to say. There are a lot of times where Los just simply do not look like they know where M80 is advancing from, which is a bit surprising because these upstairs bomb sites are not a mystery for defenders. You know where your attackers are going to come from. Jacuzzi wall's going to get opened up. Somebody's probably going to drop Logi. There's usually going to be a late flank from construction. If there isn't a late flank from construction, it's probably because they don't have a numbers advantage. So instead, they're going to stack up over towards weight room, and they're going to go through Jacuzzi breach. Maybe somebody sits outside on windows. So why are you puzzled that somebody is over towards Logi? Why are you puzzled when somebody is sitting on Jacuzzi breach? Is the issue that Los are not coordinating their defense as well? Are they not communicating? Is it because they don't have information? All obviously we can do is speculate. But there isn't a lot of good so far from Los. Despite the fact that they won that round downstairs, they kind of got a helping hand from M80 playing poorly. And that's a terrible thing to say. You want to win these rounds on your own ability, not the inability of your opponents.
That is the truest statement I've ever heard. I mean, of course you'll take the freebies, but it shouldn't come down to that. The players know that themselves. They go, guys, we shouldn't have won that. Okay, keep that in mind, but we did. Okay, now let's move on and do better. And maybe they're kind of posted right now. Citizen waiting for movement here from Lowe's, likely looking for the Solace on the roam. They know that Operator is certainly in play, but look at the lineup again. If M80 wants to attack Garage, what are we missing? There's no Wamai once more. So the moment Kino gets into Garage, if they want to go for that attack, they can immediately fire off the rafters, either get a guaranteed kill or force the movement of that player, but instead, they do it for the sexy kick instead on the primary breach, but I think he might have tricked it. There's no hard breaching left from Cameraman on the Thermite. Sexy kick did put down that bandit battery after the MP, so I think he might have actually just walked to the wall in the fire, put down the battery, walked away, and denied the breach from the attack, and there's no backup here. Nothing on Ace on Sport, nothing on Kino on that secondary can opener. This might be another round where M80 will not get that primary wall opened up, and they have to now adapt but they got the 5v5. They have even numbers advantage, or even numbers rather, and they're looking for the roam still. If they can take down Various on the solids, there it goes. That's going to open things up for them, because they need to use manpower and brute force their way into this round, just like the last.
Also be watching now as we hit the final minute of action here, Nick. When Citizen opts to use Deimos' gadget, it took until the final 20 seconds or so for him to get that going. Will we see it happen so late? Will Citizen try to isolate these players earlier to aid M80's site take? Some of the main wall was opened up. It looked like it was by the Selma. But right now, the big sticking point for M80 is Raptors control. Los have not surrendered it at all. The fire arrow from Kino didn't do the damage to Legacy that he'd hoped for. Legacy didn't even take a single point of damage. Now, he'll be harassed by the death mark, and as he pops up, Kino eliminates him. Again, a big game so far for Kino, who fishes for another. Admittedly, there wasn't much of Sexy Cake left, but what is remaining is found by Kino. Third could be had. That's an ego peek by Rise to shut it down. As M80 walks into the breach, they're gunned down by Los, and Citizen will join the rest of his teammates after picking up a single kill through that breach. Los wins one of the top floor bomb sites, and now they're free and clear to go down to basement and hope to tie the first half.
That was really messy of a round, and I was wrong. M80 did manage to get that main breach opened up with the Selmas. I must have missed the timing there, but I think Kino had a miscalculation, because when he and Cameraman walked into bottom garage, Kino shot the first fire, flicked his crosshair to the other portion of the catwalk rafters, and then went for a reload to the smoke arrows instead. The reason being, he probably thought he had 2 fires left, right? Because he did last time. You fire right, you fire left, the guy on catwalk cannot go anywhere, he dies. And then Cameraman walked up with the gunfire as well to try and confirm the kill. But because they spent one of those capital fires earlier in the round to deny 60 kick on the bandit on the main breach, they only had 1 fire left. So Cameraman walked up into a pretty poor gunfight, didn't get that second fire to support him, and then Kino just kind of watched his teammate die, unable to help him. So a slightly small miscalculation there from M80, and then I mean it comes down to gunfights, right? If they win more gunfights, they probably win the round, but Los actually, they held their own there, they stood their ground and came out positively for once, which we haven't seen that much from them, and they actually just said, you know what, this is not a great situation to be in, we know we're gonna get fired off, but they're just gonna stick it out, and this time it actually works. And that's with M80 once again get that early opening kill onto Solace downstairs, removing one of the win conditions for the defenders. They can no longer play below. They can no longer deny the drones or deny the plant from downstairs. So it was pretty much like a 5 versus 4 all around the bomb site and garage, and that was it. It should be okay for M80, but those they did come out on top in the end.
A little piece of info that I was fed from one Jesse J. Chick.
There it is.
Fun fact, Los have attacked the church Arsenal bomb site more than any other bomb site in the game. They've attacked it 5 times. They have never won.
Oh.
So when we get to round number 7 and the side swap comes in, if you're M80, you gotta start on that bottom floor bomb site. And if so, that should be a gimme. If M80 wins this round and then can win the next, they'd fit sitting quite handsomely at a 5-2 scoreline. You got to get there first, though. M80 had their own challenges on this bomb site when they went here in round number 3. Brought a Deimos. They brought a Jackal. Deimos, actually, getting almost 100% presence in these matches. Down goes Spoit. So the Deimos, whether he got baited in or Rise or not, if you want Deimos to work well, you got to have Citizen play. But hold on a second. Half of the server is just effectively cleared out. Legacy and Rise are the last 2 left. Rise drops. That's Case also. Oh, no, that's not Case surrendered. That's the Buck of Noodle surrendered. Almost looks like he exploded into the objective. Legacy now on main stairs, fighting towards that bathroom angle. He sees a tiny bit of Kino. No! I mean, it was a
nice shot.
Pretty nice shot, though. Really good shot from Legacy. Like, clip that. That looks... Yeah, keep clip that. That was a good shot, though, hey? M80 have now done the reversal, but hold on. Legacy's sacrifice, or his team kill, rather, might not have been in vain. Legacy clutched this one out. M80 was in this situation before. Got the diffuser working against him. This is a mirror image of what we saw last time. Legacy was in church just as Noodle was. Diffuser not far removed. Legacy looking to the left. Diffuser's to the right. Last body to the right as well. Cameraman ensures that M80 does not botch the final moments of their downstairs take as happened before. You got to be kicking yourself if you're M80. That could have been a 5-1 first half had Noodle been a bit luckier with the secondary shotgun. Either way, M80 will be happy with that. 4-2 is the first half.
It's a good attack from M80 as well. They were like spread very thin across the entire map. They were attacking top floor. They had Kino set up like bathroom holding down the main staircase. They were attacking blue as well from the staircase. Like they were hitting the attack, or they were rather attacking and hitting the defense from so many different positions. And it's hard to react to that like the right way for Los. Like the last two defenders alive, they were on the main staircase. That means the bomb site was completely evacuated. Whether that team kill happens or not from Legacy, the attackers have bomb site control. M80 will plant down that diffuser, but of course, if the team kill doesn't happen, Los have one more body to play with and trade with, and it would be like a 2 versus 2 instead of a 1 versus 2. And that, of course, can affect the outcome of the round. But M80, again, great adaptation, great understanding of what they need with their player positions and their operators. And you're correct, Parker, in the assessment of the bomb sites, or rather, Jesse, with the information here, proved himself right, saying that, hey, M80, they should go downstairs. Was attacked, what, 5 times, 6 times? Lost every single time? That is, that'd be a tough start. And they're up against the Mira, up against the Ward and the Samuel Wamai. Like, this is like a utility-oriented setup, and it's pretty much built to make it difficult for the attackers to problem solve, because they're not going to be roaming. You're not going to get any free kills, at least shouldn't if you're Los. You need to fight on the bomb side against the Wamai discs that denies, your flashbangs, nades, etc. And you can't flash the Warden, you can't smoke the Warden, you got those mirror windows, so that's why they're playing the Ash on attack. So they're forcing Los to problem solve and work for every single inch of this map.
I was correct with the bomb site as well. So now this stat becomes a little bit more relevant than in the previous round. The fact that Los have attacked this site 5 times and come up empty-handed every single time is quite dreadful. Just as a number. I like the blitz pick.
Going live.
I like the lion pick. Bursa on the buck as well. He's been the star player for Los. That buck dies early. Most of this kitchen floor will remain intact for the defenders. That is bad for Los. Bursa will now assume the position over in that direction.
Curious what the approach is going to be with the blitz. Normally we see like a dirt or blue staircase, like you rush to the bomb site, but you can also use the blitz like an Osa or a Munty, where you try and go for a plant instead. There are a lot of options here for Rise and Los as a team. It's just a matter of what you think is most viable. When you go through like a clubhouse basement attack, the first step, roam clear, get the full map control. Second step, breach every single hatch and wall inside that you think you can get opened up. That's what they're doing right now. And then you gotta start droning out that bomb site. And then the final step is, of course, the execute. So right now, for the next 30-40 seconds, those are gonna gather as much intel as possible, figure out the player positions, where the utility is, try to deal with it right now with these flashbangs, and then figure out, okay, what's the weakest point for the defenders? What can we attack the simplest or easiest right now? But of course, the blitz, wherever he goes, that should be the indicator of where the main execute will come from, especially since he has the diffuser on him.
Rise waiting for the green light to now charge through. Small opening, and now a Ninja Turtle plant with Sexy Cake watching. M80 are completely absent from this. They've given up the bomb site. Area's taking damage. Sexy Cake as well. Los winning their duels, clearing M80 out. Maybe Los has finally learned from this site, but hold on a moment. M80 will arrive just in time. Greater challenge for the M80 squad. Los playing upstairs. Bursa and Legacy to hold this down. Kino, the only one remaining. Bursa dies. Legacy will watch as Kino goes through kitchen door to get this final kill, but Kino doesn't have information. Los will finally win this bomb site. 6th time's a charm. 1 round separate these two teams.
I mean, you can see in that round, like, they had that plant in mind from the prep phase. The second they saw the bomb site, it was that blitz that came to be shown, the lion, and there was no real moment where Blitz was hovering towards blue or dirt tunnel. He was always in that main staircase, kitchen area, just kind of droning, waiting for his moment. They go down bottom main staircase, they pop on that back wall of the B bomb site, and they sprint on in and get down the diffuser, and they actually do something really great to support it. They create chaos. It's not just Blitz running in, Blitz going for a plant. There were two attackers whose sole purpose in that round was just get in that bomb site, make it chaotic. If they die, it's okay, because the big thing about that basement plant is that there's soft destruction all above the bomb site and the hallway as well. Even if you are like 2 versus 4 on the attack, you can win that post-plant position because you can play vertically. We saw 2 people in the main staircase just holding those vertical angles, making it hard for Mate to retake. And then if it's 1 versus 1, the defender has to chase upstairs, otherwise you can't counter defuse. So Kino has to walk into kitchen, no idea what that attacker is sitting in. There's almost like a 0% chance that you're supposed to win that as a defending team. I mean, they did a great job at finding those initial kills, but those are the easy kills. That's the guys where you know where they're playing at, that are not like fighting horizontally, or vertically rather, they're fighting horizontally. And now, things are gonna get interesting, because Cameraman's playing Clash, and Clash is an interesting operator because we never see it played much the last couple of years, but for some reason, in this stage alone, by my numbers, it's seen more play than the last like 3 years combined of domestic play. And we see it in Europe, in North America, in Brazil. Clash, for some reason, is just like risen in the pick rates, essentially. I don't really know why that is. I don't have like a logical answer for it.
I mean, I guess we'd have to talk to the teams about why Clash has seen the pick rate that she has. There's been speculation that, you know, we've obviously partaken in, and I know that other people have decided to weigh in as well, is that the slower ADS speed for every operator has dramatically changed how teams want to take engagements. Couple that with the loss of the 1.5 scope, and we're looking at a lot more longer range engagements, especially from defenders. Because of this, you can't just run in as a defender and get a couple picks by quickly ADSing with a 1.5 scope. No, you have to run the hollow, or you have to run the longer range scopes, as we see on Wamai, as we've seen some of the Rook and Doc do, some of the chunky French boys. And I do wonder if that maybe because gunfights are slower and teams have changed up now in response to that, how much utility they bring, Clash sees greater value. I'm not entirely certain. M80 though, on their back foot right now. Noodle challenge, decides to peek the door, fighting for his life at this point. Takes one before Sexy Cake finishes him off. Just like that. Los regain a numbers advantage. Still got the Clash on the board though, and with 45 seconds remaining, M80 does still have those 2 smoke canisters. So they're not in as bad of a spot as you'd think, but okay, now it's significantly worse. BC walks up, Spoit dies. Kino and Cameraman last 2 left. There goes one of the toxic canisters. Kino will have to watch this main breach. 10 kills, by the way, for Kino, who now he's getting pressured. One red whiffs his shots onto Bursa. Rise the crossfire as multiple players from Los work together to take down the Clash. Tie game.
We didn't see anything from Cameraman on the Clash in that round. I was waiting for it. I was about to say, like, what's going to happen with this pick? Because it's like, let's say you pick an Amaru and you never enter the building. Like, you don't use the gadget to, like, you know, that chaotic effect, you know, rush your bombs to get a plant down. If you pick a Clash, which is very unorthodox, by the way, it almost never happens, like I spoke of earlier, we expect to see something with intent. Like, you peek the main breach with a gun behind the Clash, you play catwalk rafters because you can't really die, you use something, a retake of some sort. Cameraman was on the bombs the entire time and was the last person alive, meaning that the Clash got no real value. And that might be because that players in defense died early on, they didn't have the manpower perhaps, or the right player positions. Something happened that didn't really account for perhaps, but we just didn't see any value. We saw M80 on the attack do a great job at adapting, flexing operators, and utilizing that gadgetry. And then they go on defense, and we've not seen that same level from them. They had the same issue as Los. No Am. Caps of Fire goes out. Okay, sure, they missed the fire. Asami stayed alive. Noodle did a great job trading 1-for-1, but then they lose catwalk control, and it's just like the bodies just start falling like very, very quickly after. And the win conditions, I mean, I didn't see them in that round. I never was like, okay, this is what M80 they want to achieve in this round. I never saw it. It was like, okay, they want to win some gunfights. Sure, who doesn't want to win some gunfights? Lowe's, they look a lot stronger on the attack so far. A lot more, like, decisive, I want to say. Every single round so far, granted it's only been 2 rounds on attack for them, they've just had a very clear goal from the beginning of the round, and that's all they're working towards. And M80 are not in a position to do much to counter it really right now, but of course, that's going to have to change, and after a tactical timeout, we can only hope that it will actually change.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Los have been making improvements every single week. Desk has talked about it. We've referenced it. Admittedly, I don't listen to every single word that comes out of the mouths of both Carter and Sam, but I'm sure they've probably referenced it at some point. But this Los team was never a basement-dwelling team in terms of the standings. They had a lot of the tools to compete with North America, especially given that NA looks like they've maybe regressed a bit as a region over the last year. I mean, look at the standings of NA and you'd be surprised to see what teams are on top. Yeah, OXG's in first, you know that name. Wildcard in third, Beast Coast in fifth. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Sonics are in sixth, DZ's in eighth. That's abnormal. And even though they sit in fourth, Space Station has had some struggles in matches that you wouldn't necessarily expect of them. So NA is not upside down, but it's far less predictable. Every region is having the same thing happen to them. BDS looked indomitable until they ran into ENCE the other day.
Yeah, big surprise.
ENCE is now in second place in the EU at last I saw.
Yeah, they're up there. Had a great
Shocking
run.
results. VP has fallen off. You know, that happens. Teams will go through their lulls. TSM had a rough go after they won a world championship. You go all the way back to Continuum. And what was it, season 3? They win, and then they almost get relegated the very next season. Same thing with that Black Dragons NIP squad. So, unpredictability is the name of the game right now in Rainbow Six, especially this matchup. Spoit dies first, M80 down by 1 with 1 minute to go.
And some things stay the same. Lowe's again, clear goal in the round. 5 that early man advantage, looking for a second to that though. Can't really get a kill there, Kino. But only 45 seconds, so while Lowe's got an early advantage, they don't have a lot of time to work with. No Blitz this time, no Grim, for example, but they have one Dokkaebi phone call left at their disposal that they can use, but Noodle might have found a gap here. Would find a kill or two, he's gonna go back to side instead and defend it.
Rough game for Noodles so far, sitting at 2 and 7. Can he find a third kill? Now engaging over towards Moto? No. M80 losing the plot at this moment as now Kino falters too. Cameraman against his former team, against his fellow countrymen. He's trapped inside of Dirt Tunnel. It's called Escape Tunnel, but the only way he escapes is in a body bag. Los takes the lead.
Gotta be a bit of frustration here from M80. I mean, they look like they don't exactly know what's going on. They're lacking intel. We saw Noodle. He had what we, saw with the top-down view and the outlines of the player positions. He had a great flank on bottom main staircase. He had a great position, but very obviously, M80 didn't feel like that was the right play to go for. So instead, he's gonna run back down the hallway, post up the bomb site, and then lose a gunfight and die, like shortly after. And this very much looked like an M80 that doesn't know where the attack is actually going to be coming from. And, Valkyrie is open, Maestro is open, you can try Echo, but he's kind of in the basement in terms of popularity. Like, no one likes Echo right now, unfortunately. They tried to clash in CCTV, which is an intel operator technically with a shield, but again, they don't really gain a whole lot from it. So far in defense, from what I'm gathering at least, it just seems very gunfight oriented, and it's hard to take good gunfights if you don't know where the attackers are playing at or where they're intending to attack from. And this could be that M80, they've studied Lowe's, they kind of know what to expect on Clubhouse maybe, and they've prepped for it. But then Lowe's are not doing what they're expecting, so now you go into this kind of blind. And one difficulty that some teams and some players they face is when you have like a prep plan in front of you, and then you don't see those things happen, it can be difficult to adapt on the fly because you have, prepared yourself for a certain thing to, be the outcome. They're down a single round from M80. It's not the end of the world, but we're getting close. Like the next round lost, and they're looking at match point against them. Gonna go to box rotations. They went basement, CC basement. Now they go for gym instead. Change things around, change it up a bit. And they actually bring, again, utility, right? They get the 1 mine, for example. They get those mid jammers, those keeper barriers to strengthen their player positions. But again, it doesn't matter if they ultimately just lose out in the gunfights. And that is where Lowe's on the attacking side have been so much better than that on defense.
Well, with this being the gym and bedroom defense, it's unsurprising that a team would extend out over towards cash and CCTV. You cannot have a direct linear take onto either the gym or the bedroom side of this map. You'll get picked apart. Maybe just like Bursa and Farius did. Spoit roaming in lounge, now down through blue, all the way through the basement of this map. Lowe's been put in a terrible spot.
What?
Noodle, where were you looking? That would have been a relatively easy 1-2 pump for him. Lowe's now uncontested control of cash. This is one of the worst games that I've seen of Noodle in ages, Nick, and I don't know what it is. Just
Attackers have located a bomb.
mistakes. I don't know if it's bad game sense, but
It seems like bad
not
decision
necessarily
making.
misplaying down below, but now also looking in the wrong direction when you know that there's at least one player coming from that CCTV door.
Yeah, he had a teammate watching the rotate to his right, so he had nothing else to worry about. Then the door to his close left, he had the shot out and ready, but either miscommunication or bad game decision from him. But thankfully for M80, Sport got that double kill earlier on and then just dipped out of there. So despite that happening, and despite it being like a pretty wonky situation, M80 are still in a favorable position. They got one more man alive, they got that strong fortified bomb site, keeper barriers, the mid jammers, they were my discs. It comes down to Lowe's now having a clutch round. They gotta somehow get in there and they gotta hit some ridiculous shots because with 25 seconds left, no knowledge of the player position from the bomb side, you just gotta get hit those shots.
Quad
Ace.
kill from Spoit. He could get them all. Sexy Cake, last one standing. How about the ace for Spoit? Barely breaking a sweat. And he needed a decisive round. They needed a bounce back performance. And it's the Swede to give it to them.
Does it in an iconic way. You know, if you know Spoit, his YouTube content or his Korean pro play, he loves going for the final kill with the deagle. And it doesn't have to be an ace, but like prone peek, deagle, like that semi drop shot, he's done it so many times back in Europe. He did it when he first came to North America as well. It's like the signature Spoit move. And I remember when back on the Rogue days when he was playing with Leon Gitz over when they won the major, Leon Gitz posted some scrim clips throughout the season in their practice before the major, and there are multiple rounds where it's like Spoit saying, "Can I deagle him? Please, can I deagle him for the content? You know, get the clip." And you know, when you're a content creator and you also happen to be a great player in Pro League, why not just try and combine those and say, let's hit clips in Pro League and win the round? But as much as we can praise Spoit's individual performance in that round and like how immediately they won it, it was just Spoit, right? Noodle made a poor decision. The bomb side players around Spoit actually died on the initial injuries from Lowe's, so it's a one-man effort. And the only win condition again from M80 is they need to hit shots and they need to get kills. And again, while that is okay to happen, we want to see a strategical win condition as well. Whether it be a plant deny, or they're roaming in a certain way, or they're gonna retake a staircase, have a C4 ready for a certain player position, anything like that. I haven't seen a whole lot of it. I saw it when they were attacking, I know they can do it. So far, it's been a different look on defense. It's now 5-5. You see the silhouette, one player from M80 roaming on that main staircase. Spoit gets another kill. Right now, he is on fire, making it so hard for Lowe's to entry in this map.
Spoit with 11 kills, Kino with 11 kills, Citizen with 9 kills, all making up for the fact that Noodle is at a puzzling and absent day. Legacy really has been the performer for Lowe's. You've still got one hard breacher, so not all hope is lost for the Brazilian turned North American team. Man, oh man, you've got to attack those hatches. You've got to take control of Church, or at least try to open up dirt. And in order to do that, a Hibana is cash money.
Yeah, you got 3 Selma charges. It takes 2 to open up a single or hatch. So I think if you're Lowe's, you get kitchen hatch, hopefully. You breach open dirt, and that's really all you have to work with. There's no other secondary hop which available to the attacking lineup. This is going to be a very linear attack. And again, Lowe's are forced into simply winning gunfights, because how you typically attack basement, you attack from so many different locations, but now you lose another body. Lion now gone as well. That last Selma goes on Church Wall. That's the last hot destruction, but there's impact grenade tricking on the other side, so they don't even get that. All they have open is kitchen hatch. That's it.
Really quite a terrible operator to lose first, and we're not even talking about Legacy's ability as a player, just gadgetry that comes from Hibana. That's a requirement on this bomb site, but Lowe's still have some good gunners. Flash over towards Moto, but Spoit will continue his good work. That's a double for him through this round. Bursa walking up Citizen with a double of his own. All 4 kills from M80 in the hands of 2 players. That will continue as Spoit gets 3, Citizen gets 2. Fist bumps all around, and M80 moves to match point.
It's funny how we're seeing M80 win, and like players looking like either happy or neutral, and then every time I see Noodle, he's like scratching his forehead and being like, guys, what is going on, or something like that. I don't know. And I get it, right? It's a frustrating game for him as an individual, despite the fact that the team is winning, but you gotta put the mental aside right now. You're winning. Just take it, right? Reset, go next round. And in same fashion as before, Spoit gets that final kill with the Deagle. I mean, Spoit's feeling great. He's got the confidence, but again, is anyone helping Spoit get those kills? Not really. Spoit swings, the main staircase window, gets the kill, falls back to side. Plays Moto, gets a second kill, goes back to side. Then swings Moto toward the Deagle, gets a 3rd kill. It's again, individual heroics. Great from him, but the support is not quite there. And it's great when it works. It's great when it goes unpunished. But if Lowe's were to actually win any of those gunfight engagements, or have like a 2v1 proper scenario set up for them, they can take down Spoit. And then who's gonna show up? Who's gonna be the hero? That's the big question that I have. Maybe though, if we go back to that round where Noodle lost the 1v1 due to that secondary shotgun, they would have won by now. Right? It would have been over 7-5 or 7-4 in that case. But because like a single bullet goes, straight in that shotgun, you're looking at 6-5 instead, and the possibility of overtime is still there. All Lowe's gotta do, quote unquote, gotta do, is just win this attack. CCTV, we've seen so many teams do it before, and they don't opt for that El Clasico style of capital the rafters. They're probably gonna go for a master bedroom connector take instead, because they got double hard breach, and they got block verticality and IQ to find any of those Valkyrie cams. So get the main bridge open. That step is done from Rise. Second step, connect the wall. While that's happening, Burst and Legacy on the jacuzzi side of things open up the jacuzzi wall and joining out master bedroom. So this is a full-on take from both sides of the map, trying to close that net onto M80, who's going to be stuck in the middle.
By the way, we're going to be tracking... Oh, my.
Oh, boy.
Never mind. We will track Citizen. Jump out. Down goes Farius. Farius having a rough game. Twitch no more. Admittedly, Twitch's gadgets would not gain huge value with the operator lineup that's present from M80. Doesn't really do much against the smoke. Doesn't do much against the Solus. I suppose you could take out the magnets from Wamai, but does nothing to the Azami, and then... Yeah, I guess it can get the Valcams. That might be good value, but you've also got an IQ for that. Not a terrible loss for Los, but not exactly the start they want. The point I was making before this was we're going to be tracking whether these teams make the playoffs of the North America League. The playoffs effectively give you a shot at making the Manchester Major. It's the upcoming major that'll be played in May. Referred to as the Major. I have a fair number of people. A regulation win for M80 secures their spot, and by God, it looks like they're going to get it. Cameraman, a 2-piece. Another player over by the bags of substances. Down goes Sexy Cake. And now it's all up to Bursa. Walking up red stairs, hitting barbed wire. How does Cameraman not hear that one? But good news, you've got Citizen. First kill. Last kill. M80 win in regulation. They have clinched a spot in the playoffs. M80 will join OXG as one of 2 teams that will be guaranteed to fight for a spot at the major. It's not guaranteed that they'll get the spot, but at least the 2 of them will be there and will be present. It was kind of scary for M80 at some points, Nick, but ultimately they persevered.
They did, and there are so many multi-kills right there. We saw like Spoit had a couple rounds, in the final one, Cameraman, Citizen, etc. Everyone had their moments besides Noodle, but I didn't see the team play and coordination from M80 that we expect and that we saw from them on the starting side of attack. So, bit of a worrying victory to my mind. I want to see them do better going to playoffs because that's not like a playoffs winning team, if you get me.
Well, that's it for our very first matchup. Thank you so much for all of your patience with the various issues that started off this broadcast. We still got 3 more matches to go, and we will continue to keep an eye on whether players and teams are qualifying for the NA League playoffs. We'll be right back after this break.
Well, the first ever NAL Import Bowl has come and gone, and as it turns out, you don't need a full squad of Brazilians to win this game. You really only need 2 of them. M80 have now confirmed their appearance in Stage 1 playoffs. Los are in an even deeper hole than we estimated they would be in just their first stage, but that was a really, really good second half from M80 in a situation where it looked like Los might have just run away with that whole thing.
It was a good showing from Los when they swapped sides. I mean, but the grave was already dug too deep, especially losing that many defensive sides on Clubhouse, it is more 50-50, but just going first top floor 2 sites back to back instead of just getting that for sure win on the basement obviously had me scratching my head.
Certainly, and you know what? I was hopeful that they could push that game to overtime. I really wanted to see the OT, and especially when you look at the standings, it would have been really big for Los to at least get 1 point on the day. But I think MA did a great job of kind of recognizing their problems, getting a little bit more aggro in the early round, and being able to win those last 3 back to back to back. Obviously took some heroics. Spoit needed to put on his cape and perform a little bit, but yeah, it's all that they got. And at the end of the day, that was good enough.
The whole point about M80 and defensive entry conversions, for the first 3 rounds of that second half, didn't even look like it was something we had to focus on very much. It was Los had the opening kill on the attack seemingly almost every time, and then M80 cycle back around and really close out that second half.
Yeah, and Fox and I both touched on how important those attacking opening picks were going to be for Los, and I think that played out exactly how we expected in that second half, where when Los were able to get that opening pick, they were really good at keeping that pressure on, making sure M80 couldn't make those moves to come back on the round. But then once M80 on the 4th quarter started getting a little bit more aggressive, we're playing a little bit more unexpected, and we're able to take the initiative and grab their own opening picks, then Los fell apart, exactly like what we expected would happen.
We also talked backstage just a little bit about how Los was setting up and the way that they were, all of their attacks were really pre-planned before the game even started. They had their rushes set up, the blitz running down the main stairs, backwards planning. Everything looked very well set up, but once Los expended all of the new stuff that they had, they didn't really have much adaptability, especially not enough adaptability to go up against M80. M80 just had to slow down and realize, hey, we're losing the first picks. Once we've seen the attacks that Los is going to throw at us, there's nothing new that Los was throwing. They were doing the exact same defaults and waiting for M80 to, I guess, get restless, make their own mistakes, but M80 was not making mistakes. And like you mentioned, Spoit really tightened up towards the end, and he was actually one of the main factors that was getting those advantageous kills at the start of the defensive half.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and I even gave Parker the stat throughout that match that Los, despite attacking it 5 times, had never successfully attacked the basement before. Well, they finally were able to do it, and I think it comes down to, again, getting that opening pick and making sure you can convert onto it. I want to show you one round in particular. It was their second time attacking onto the basement, and they do a really good job in the 5v4 of making sure that nobody can get aggressive and prevent their push from going as planned. Watch the main stairs. Take a look at the Dokkaebi here. Burst is firing all of his shots because he sees Noodle for just a second, and then he calls him on his phone. He drops the logic bomb, which forces Noodle to back off. If Noodle hadn't been spotted there, if the phone wasn't ringing, if those shots weren't coming out, he could have maybe made a play up the main stairs, caused some problems, and taken the man advantage back in favor of M80. But because the oppression from the Dokkaebi play was so strong, it scared him off. He ran back to site where he wasn't able to have any impact. And so I really like that from Los. It's something I didn't see from them on previous Clubhouse games, but today they brought it down for the basement, and I did appreciate that.
You brought up a good point in the first half, by the way. Grave was dug because the first half went the way that it did, but it was almost a really good thing for Los because they didn't fully have the bandit trick snuffed out. M80 didn't. They tried, they came close, but especially in that first half, it seemed like M80 had a landslide, and then there was some sort of recovery from Los to start with, but to your point, it was too little too late.
Yeah, and we talked about in the pregame, obviously being a map that M80 is going to have a lot of footage on Los on, and that was one of the main factors, was the bandit tricking and denial of the wall, and M80 came to deny that, and that was the hardest part of their attacks, in my opinion. Once M80 was able to deny the bandit trick from being able to bandit and just focus then on after getting those walls open, they went into their M80-esque attacks where they just split up all over around the site. They make Los move into positions that's uncomfortable for them, and that's where they're able to get those picks, and that not only makes their executes that much cleaner, but that's where we get to see these play-by-play where they're able to win these clutch situations because they already have the advantage into the site.
Yeah, I posed the question before the game started if M80 wanted to ban that bandit because we know Sexy Cake loves to play on it, and they opted to ban the Tubarão instead. It does a similar thing, right? It helps keep the wall closed. You take that out. M80 were confident in their abilities to stop the bandit trick from Sexy Cake, and they had a lot of cool ideas to stop him. Obviously Thatcher, but they also used Capitao a couple times. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. He did still get some tricks off, but for the most part, it was a problem that M80 did a good job of solving, and so I like seeing that research coming through from M80. I like that they showed up with answers, and they did a great job countering it because, as you pointed out, they knew that that was going to be a strong point for Los.
So game's over. Let's talk implications. One team is qualified for playoffs. The other is even further away from getting the chance to do that themselves. We now have two teams that are already going to the best of three bracket next week. That's Oxygen and M80. But for Los, we talked about them being in the danger zone to start. They had 3 opportunities to get as many points as possible. One of them is completely wasted, and now their chances of actually getting to playoffs look even more dire than ever.
It does, but at the same time, 2 games is still 6 points. If you add 6 points to Los's total right now, that puts them up to 3rd place. So it's still within their realm of possibility. They could do it. They got to be playing better. They've got to actually get those wins. But like, it's so close right now. The stage is so even between all the teams that it's still possible for them to make it out of the last place.
It's still possible. I'd like to say, I feel like M80 and OXG have really set themselves aside from the rest of the league right now with consistency.
Yep.
And even though we see a lot of promise out of Los, just like some of the other teams at the bottom part of the leaderboard, I think it's going to take Los a little bit more time, but they do have the pieces kind of sorted out a little bit better than some other teams, I'd say. They just haven't been able to put the wins on the board. It kind of reminds me of Luminosity last stage. Luminosity was really close to getting these games, but they were still somehow always at the bottom.
Sure.
So it gives me just a little bit of, reminds me of that.
Well, we already have one team that's qualified all the way for playoffs, but the other team that we have coming up in Game 2 is about to see if they can't qualify for top 2 and lock in a first-round bye. We'll get to that game after the break. Don't go anywhere.